So I really appreciate journaling. It's a really good practice for me in so many ways. Writing helps me to sift through my thoughts and feelings. It gives a focus to my prayers. I don't know if you're anything like me, that oftentimes in prayer, I'm just all over the place, super distracted. So if I opt to write my prayers, it just gives me more of a focus. And then that actually helps me kind of be more in tune to hearing from God as well. So journaling is just a really good practice for me. In fact, I love journaling so much that this is just a sampling of the journals that I have sitting next to our dining room table. I love journals so much that I just keep buying more and more of them. Like some of them have different prompts in them that are really helpful. So, love journaling. But I also hate journaling because slowing down to sit with my thoughts and feelings can sometimes be uncomfortable because it uncovers things that I don't necessarily want to deal with, things I'd rather not face. Which is why many of my journals start off great. I'm writing a lot in them. And then if you were to open this one to about, maybe a quarter of the way through, you would see that it's empty because I don't want to deal with the messiness and the confusion and the hard stuff of life. So the journal just goes back on the shelf, not to be touched again. So the practice of solitude can have a similar effect. I know that there is value in taking a break from the noise and the chaos of the world in order to sit in God's presence and in His love. But at the same time, the quietness of solitude brings me face to face with experiences and feelings that I'd sometimes rather ignore. This is partly why busyness, noise, and activity are so appealing to me, and maybe to you too. The more I can cram into my schedule, or the more I can focus on my to-do list, the less I have to confront what's going on in the interior of my life. I can just focus on being productive and getting things done and being busy. So my doctor recently recommended the book to me, The Body Keeps the Score. Full disclosure, I didn't actually finish the book because it was due at the library before I was able to finish it, but just don't tell my doctor that. But the premise is that if we don't deal with our stress or our hurt, it catches up with us, often in physical symptoms. So ignoring our stress or our hurt doesn't make it disappear. Or burying our stress or our hurt underneath busyness or productivity also doesn't make it disappear. It just resurfaces in other unhealthy ways. Our stress can come out as physical symptoms. It can come out as high blood pressure or a stomach ache or a headache, or it can come out in more emotional, mental ways with a quick temper or words that we don't mean. But solitude is our antidote to that. Solitude is a practice that provides a way to live openly before God and to meet God in our hurt and worry instead of ignoring it. When we come to God with all of ourselves, the Spirit can transform us from the inside out. Without solitude, it's hard to let God into our lives, or to listen to God, or be transformed and healed by God if we're not giving God access to our lives. In fact, Henry Nouwen, who was a Catholic priest and author, says that without solitude, it is virtually impossible to live a spiritual life. Even Jesus needed solitude. Luke tells us that Jesus often withdrew to lonely places to pray. Jesus knew the necessity of getting alone with God to listen to God. Jesus lived in this rhythm of action and solitude. Jesus knew that both practices are essential for an abundant life. And Jesus' life embodied this, and Jesus is our model for how we live our lives. So as we follow Jesus, a life of both action and solitude is essential for us too. Through solitude, God invites us to say no to the many noisy voices of the world, and yes to listening to His voice.